Call the regular meeting of the City of Cottonwood Planning and Zoning Commission for July, oh, let's see, we're clear back here, July 7th, are we 17th or 16th?
16th.
16th, all right, 16th. I want to get a day ahead of ourselves. 2018, roll call, please.
Commissioner Dowell,
Here.
Commissioner Dowling,
Here.
Commissioner Narwood,
Here.
Vice Chairman Wasden,
Here.
Chairman Williams,
Here.
and Commissioner Hart absent, Commissioner Masters absent.
All right. Before we go on, Amber, somebody from the office talked to Mrs. Hart. I understand Commissioner Hart's in the hospital.
Yeah.
Any updates or?
They didn't give me a lot of information, just that he should be okay, hopefully being released today.
Okay, good.
As far as
Okay, that's good to hear. So we'll wish him our best and see him at the next meeting. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the call to the public. And at this time, if we have any public comment, commissioners may not discuss the items identified unless they're on the agenda, and we cannot take any action. Comments were limited to 5 minutes per each person. I don't have any sheets on for the public, call the public, so do I see anybody who wants to talk to us on it? Generalized items? Okay, good. Yes.
there was one I put on there.
Yeah, that's for one of our agenda items.
Sorry.
Thank you. No problem. No problem. All right. Old business, we have none, so we're going to delve right into new business. PCU 18006, Verde Valley Homeless Coalition for a conditional use permit to operate a daytime drop-in center for the homeless. Who's Jim? Our staff will handle it first. Yes, yes. Yeah, we'll let our staff here get you started, okay?
Let us get the PowerPoint presentation up here and I'll show you some pictures. But basically what we have is a conditional use permit. Good evening, members of the commission.
Yes.
How are you tonight? Sort of jumped over that little part.
No problem.
Okay, good to see you. What we have is an application for a conditional use permit in order to operate a daytime drop-in center for homeless individuals in the area. The goal of the drop-in center would be to offer social services, basically job search activities for those in need through the community. The site they've chose is at 14 South Main Street, which is just right up next to the Circle K at Main Street and Mingus. It's a building that was has recently gone under some renovations, cosmetic improvements to the exterior and the site. They'll be using one of the units that is available. It would be the rear unit in this building. Let's see if we can. Okay, there's the project site. You see, it's Circle K is right there, and this would be right next door. Sort of already went through some of this. Current code allows for the headquarters of charitable, philanthropic, welfare organizations, so it would be a permitted use with a conditional use permit in that zoning district. In your packet, the applicant has provided quite a bit of information regarding their business plans, policies, and procedures in the event of a lot of activities that they're trying to avoid negative impact on the community. The hours would be just a few hours a day. It'd be all daytime hours. At this point, we haven't received any comments, concerns, letters. I think I did have, after this, one phone call came in, just a neighbor curious about it, but it was not an objection. This is the building in question, and the unit that they are This is sort of the rear of the building, and that's the unit that they would be utilizing. This is sort of more the front of the building up here facing Main Street, and the unit in question would be this back here. Again, the front of the building, the front as it's visible from Main Street. Since then, some additional landscaping has been put in. The building is, like I said, under renovation from what it was. And a street view looking south on Main Street. This is the property to the rear, just across the alley from the rear of the subject site. The parking area has been improved as part of the overall renovation of the site, but the conditional use permit is for the use, not really the modifications or cosmetic improvements to the building. It's only for the social service activities that would be going on there. Through the code review board and subsequent meetings with staff, the applicant, public service, the police department, we've worked through a lot of the what ifs could happen, and I think their business plan addresses those with their policies and procedures, and through working with the neighborhood and the police department for any circumstances that would arise. One of the conditions we do have on here that we felt was important is that should this all go through and the project be approved, that all those property owners within the 300-foot radius who received notification of this conditional use permit would also have contact information, phone number, name, email, for the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition. So if it's a emergency situation, obviously they would call the police. If it's just needing information or what's going on, they would have contact information for the applicant. So that is one of the stipulations that we put in into the report. So with that, I think that's all I have to discuss. The applicant is here this evening. If you have any questions of myself and then
Mr. Dow?
No, sir.
No questions.
No question?
I have no questions. It seems pretty thoroughly laid out.
Yeah. I'm fine with listening to the applicant.
okay.
Please let us know your name, please.
Brenda Avalon. I'm the executive director of the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition.
Okay.
And hello, chairman, commissioners, director. So we are very excited about the prospect of opening a drop-in center. We already have, I don't know if it was in the information you received, but we already have a couple computers, and we have more that are promised to us. And we, just to have a place where the homeless can get out of the elements, especially now with monsoon season going, and where they can do something productive and, better themselves. We have Goodwill coming in to do job search and resume building, and we have Yavapai College. We have interns. I was a case manager for 6 years for a dual diagnosis recovery house. So I can provide that. We have another case manager. We plan to have life skills coaching. We're hoping to have laundry services. That's still up in the air. You know, a TV with DVDs, you know, wholesome DVDs. And they have, you didn't see it on the pictures, but there's an outdoor fenced-in patio that's on the far side and to the back, so that we won't have people congregating out front. You know, there will be no loitering in front of the building, that they can go into the patio if they want to talk or smoke or whatever. So we plan to be good neighbors, and we're concerned about that as well. And we have the support of the police department. Chief Gazelle is here if you have any questions of him. But so really, you know, reaffirming their hopes for the future and helping them with their abilities to face, you know, their challenges in life. You know, my history with the homeless, they don't know what the next right step is. And we want to help them with that and inspire them and motivate them to want more than they have now, than a life on the streets, and to feel worthy of that as well. So, are there any questions?
Okay, Commissioner Bell, you have any?
No, sir.
No questions.
None for me.
Commissioner Narver?
No, Chris.
Just one, real quick. Approximately, I know you probably just an estimate, but how many people do you think you'll probably serve on a, you know, it'll slow, smart, it'll be small first and then grow.
Right. We figure 10 to 20 people with the amount of space based on the FEMA recommendations for how many people per square foot. We figure we can fit maybe 10 to 20. We'll, you know, we'll have activities. And
Okay, very good. I don't have any other further questions.
Okay.
I do have one slip from Matthew Kelly. I'd like to address the commission.
Yes,
Please.
thank you. My name is
Ma-
Matthew Kelly. I'm the executive director of the Verde Valley Sanctuary. I've been a resident of the Verde Valley for 35 years or so. I've got a PhD in psychology. I know a lot of this population. I've thought a lot about this. One of our goals in the town, in the community, is to not enable people, but to empower people. And this is always a question. Does a little drop-in center enable people? Does our sanctuary, we take care of domestic violence people, enable them, or does it empower them? I think Chief Gazelle has kind of taught us that if we case manage people tightly and give them respect and dignity and give them a chance, there's a large percentage of them that will improve, and a percentage of them that will move on, and a percentage of them that we will reduce the harm that they might cause, the hospitalization bills, etc. So we're basically going to try to better manage this population with as much dignity as we can afford. I wish we had more space. I wish we had more resources. But we will make this attempt. And in our sanctuary, we have a lot of resources, and we have fingers and different things that we will try to help this population as much as possible and help the coalition. We are available. Spectrum Healthcare is available with their crisis team. I suppose there will be some problems that will occur, and some unpleasant things that will occur, but probably less than would occur if we just ignored this population. That's my thought. We're just minimizing the harm and maximizing the potential of success. That's our goal. So I think we should give it a good try. And with the law enforcement efforts, he's got a lot of experience in the past with this homeless population. So we really want to manage them really well.
Very good.
That's-
Thank you, sir, very
you.
much. We appreciate your comments. Any other comments in the public?
You know,
Yes, that's fine, dear. That's fine.
I've never done this before.
Oh, no, that's fine. We understand. Yes. If you'll state your,
Very short little speech.
all right, if you'll give us your name? Your
My name is Naomi Markanik, and I'm secretary of the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition. And I was just thinking as I sat here, you know, city of Cottonwood, and then there's Clarkdale, then there's Cornville, all these Cs. We could be city of Cottonwood with a conscience. And I think we need to emphasize that and not just put it in words, but put it in action. And I think this day drop-in center would be one of the ways we can say that we are a city with a conscience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? If not, I'll close the floor to the public and for comments from the commissioner, starting with Commissioner Dodd.
I'll start off by saying I think this is a needed asset to the community. I think it'll help with a lot of the issues we come across when we try to refer people to services, and I think this will help fill that gap that we don't have to get that step out. With that said, when I first read this, I had some concerns, but after reading the packet and reading the protocol for the operating and the visitor contract, my concerns were pretty much washed away. So as long as these things are in place, I think we'll have success, and I look forward to it.
Commissioner Norwood?
Looks like,
Oh, sorry.
Good,
looks like a
Norwood.
well thought out plan. I hope you're very successful with the endeavor.
Commissioner Dowling?
I would have to concur with the two previous comments.
Vice Chairman?
I'll concur with the previous three comments. I think it's a great idea, and I think sometimes it doesn't take much, something small to make a big difference, and that spreads out, and so I think it's a worthy effort, and I hope it's successful.
Good. I concur. That area particularly would be very convenient for a number of those folks to drop in, and like you say, coordinating with the local law enforcement and working together will make us a better community, and appreciate all the efforts everybody's going to get this on board. And with that, Vice Chairman, I will ask for a motion, please.
I move that we approve PCU 18-006, Verde Valley Homeless Coalition, with the following stipulations. One, the project is developed in conformance with the development plan submitted for the July 16, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Two, the project conforms to the Code Review Board dated June 14, 2018. Three, a certificate of zoning compliance documenting the completion of conditions shall be issued prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Four, that the applicant provide email and phone contact information to all property tenants and owners within a 300-foot radius, and that's it.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Commissioner Dowell, second that motion as Vice Chairman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Good luck. We appreciate your efforts. Okay, on to our next item, which will be PCU 18005 and Design Review 18008. Arizona talked about, before we get into this, I'm sorry, was very derelict. You know, he didn't introduce our newest member to our commissions, since it's a fellow we've seen around for a lot of years, most of us, as a councilman, Commissioner Jesse Dowling, who we've seen before us also, come before us on some agenda items. And you really don't need an introduction, but if you want to just say hello and say...
Well, I meant to come with my hat in hand last night because I missed the special meeting tonight for the special meeting last week, but I don't have any hats. Anyway, I'm just looking forward to working with all you guys and trying to move Cottonwood forward and make it a better place.
Good. Well, we welcome your aboard and your expertise.
Thank you so much.
And,
We're glad you're serving in the right commission this time. Saw the light.
Well, you know.
yes.
I say that now that Tim's left.
Right. Okay. All right, we're ready to proceed. Who's got, Jim, you on this one too, sir?
Yes. Thank you again, Chairman Williams, members of the commission. This is conditional use permit 18-005 and design review 18-008 for Arizona Chocolates, also known as Gale's Chocolates, is a common name. They go back and forth. The conditional use permit in this situation is required for the wholesaling portion of the project. The manufacturing and retail is a permitted use. The manufacturing portion would have to be less than 50% of the retail floor area. Those are permitted uses. The conditional use permit is because of the wholesaling portion. So I have a few pictures here in the slide I'd like to show. The project site is right on the bend on Main Street, right here. Sort of, here's the cemetery location so you can see the general vicinity. Zoning is C1, light commercial. And as I stated, the current code allows for the light manufacturing use in that zoning district, subject to certain conditions. In working with the applicant on this, we're still working through the exact floor plan layout so that they do fall within that manufacturing retail percentages that the code allows. All the manufacturing activity does need to be conducted within the entirety of the building. And the first statement there that we're still working on the exact layout of, what is the retail portion, what is the manufacturing portion. There is an exterior shed out there that would be used as some of the warehousing for the product and the packaging. This is a site looking sort of to the north on Main Street. This would be the front of the building, and this is the storage shed off to one side of the parking lot. This is the adjacent property just to the east. This is the rear of the portion, which faces Greenlee, which is the small street to the rear. And these are the properties adjacent to the rear along Greenlee. So I think that pretty much concludes what I have. There is they did submit a color board. The roof material sort of proposed as a corrugated metal, rusted, and then a tan and a brown correspond. So there would be some exterior modification to the building as well. If you want to see that. So I think that concludes what I would have to say. The applicant, his engineer, is also here this evening, should you have additional questions for them as well. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Mr. Dell?
Is the roofing material for the storage shed, I'm assuming? Oh, is it over the,
For both. Is
for both? Oh,
The
okay.
answer that I got.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Nolan.
Yes, I do have a question, Jim. In looking at the A2, you help me think through this. It shows the retail space to be 400 square feet and the manufacturing space to be 2,662 square feet. It seems to be a huge discrepancy because something is not right here. And I'm wondering how this could possibly be rectified unless they come in again for another use or a variance or something, because the manufacturing could only be 1,331 feet. So how is this going to work?
That's the $64,000 question. They would have to do some internal reconfiguration. If the storage shed is able to be modified to be used as retail, and adding to they need to figure out how to add to the retail square footage to make that 50% calculation work.
Could they come back in for a use, a conditional use, on the manufacturing relative to the square feet of retail? It just, something doesn't seems out of balance, that there's a awful large request on one end. It's almost like it's going to prevent this business, and I think it should be something that we should really consider. It's a good use.
Well, the conditional use permit is technically only for the wholesaling portion.
I understand, but could they come back for a variance in the square footage usage? I mean, it would seem to me that that's what they should do.
In that case, they would be asking for something contrary to what the code states. So a variance, I don't believe, would be the process.
Yeah, I don't think we have the ability to make that. That's a code change, building code change, right, Jim?
Correct.
That's not in our purview. We are making it a stipulation, though. You've made it a stipulation that they work with you to get to that, to meet the code requirements, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, even using a storage shed is going to only bring it up to about 800 square feet, and they need to be up 1,200.
In the total overall square footage that you mentioned for the building, we wouldn't calculate some of the areas as far as bathroom, hallway, storage closet. So that number, the large number to begin with, does come down substantially when those areas are factored out of the square footage.
Mr. Dowling?
Along that, I mean, I see where we're trying, it's almost like we've presented a square peg in a round hole to try and fit through for them. I do know that, and it's not going to be the exact same thing because it's probably a variance in the zoning, but I do know from my experience here that there seems to be a different take on production and manufacturing of items. And if I would look at that brewery, for example, they have a fairly large building, and I'm not equivocating the two, but I'm using it as just sort of a metaphor. They have a fairly large building with a large amount of it that is towards the production of their product. And in one corner, they sort of have this small tasting area. So if you look at like a lot of these things, people are almost really showing off the manufacturing of it. So it kind of is tricky to draw a hard and fast dividing line between what is and isn't manufacturing when the manufacturing is actually almost a portion of the retail. So
Exactly.
you're sort of trying to tie the two together. If the code eventually needs to be adjusted to reflect that, I think that would be a good way to look at it. In this particular case, like you said, we're sort of just trying to clear the first hurdle and then work with staff on the other part of that. So I think that this versus having a vacant building like that, I think as long as they're willing to work with the city, and that's stipulated, then there shouldn't be anything that takes place that we aren't aware of or at least informed of. Moving ahead.
Sort of to comment on that a little bit further, I think a lot of these codes most likely were written before current day online.
Right.
Right.
And another,
The way sales happen
right.
today.
Another example I have some personal history with when I was on the city council was that there was a facility that, it was a large warehouse, cultivation facility, but the ordinance were written, it was a 16,000 square foot warehouse, but the ordinances were written that you could only cultivate 10,000 square feet of that. So it was really holding people up from actually pursuing utilizing the entire space because there was an imaginary yellow line basically across the whole that was really just kind of set forth arbitrarily. So I think that it's a similar situation where we're going to try and maybe work on that arbitrary setting forth, but at this point, it's not really in the purview of the document, as you said, but I think that if they're willing to work, they're willing to work. That's how I kind of go with that.
Just a question on the signage. I see they're projecting a new monument sign, updated one, and then there's these two other signs, and there's nothing in our conditional use permits for, do we need to, typically want to see where those signs are in the building? Are those going to be on the building, Jim?
They would have, that might be a better question
Okay.
for them because we do ask they,
All
come back and signage would be under a separate permit. They
We
did
write
comment
one.
that a monument sign would be out there and then.
Looks like there's some
I'm
other
gonna assume
signage.
that,
Okay,
yes,
they can
would
answer
have some
that.
building
That's fine.
signage,
We can do that.
out there as well.
Okay, just,
On the building.
other than that, fine. Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Okay,
So
who's here for
Brett
the,
Maupin is the engineer and Michael and Andrea Portnoy are the owners of the chocolate factory.
Hello, my name's Brent Maupin. I'm the architect and engineer on the job. Hello, staff and commission, and thank you for the opportunity to present this project to you. And you made some good comments on the square footage. There was some last-minute discussion on that particular part of the code, and we've talked to staff about it fairly recently, and they said, let's see what we can do. Let's get this wholesale going. And that is a point that we need to work at. And we had planned on having a viewing of the chocolate manufacturing facility. So the gentleman's statement on viewing the production part while they're in there buying chocolate is in fact a reality, and that's part of the intention. Let's see. So as far as beautifying the project, yes, Michael Portnoy, the owner, he's here tonight. He's a business owner in Cottonwood, and I can guarantee he'll make this a beautified project. It's going to have a facelift on the front with the colors that you see in the roof, and it's going to look very nice. Let's see, architecturally, I think that's a given. The square footage, we appreciate your comments on trying to work with us to get this to work, because it would be a great place for this facility. Plus, it's going to hire some people. They're going to have some workers in there. And it's going to stay for a long, long time. So whatever the commission could do to help us work through this interpretation of the square footage would be much appreciated.
do you have any information on the signage? I know it wasn't on your drawings or anything.
Yeah, I think I can answer that. If I don't do it correctly, I'll ask Michael, the owner, to come up. But the existing sign that's there, that's where the main sign's going, is right on the street. But we do want to put an awning between the main building and the shed, because we want to beautify that area, and we want to make that more look like one structure rather than two separate structures, and we want to make it real obvious when the people come up where the front door is. It's going to be in the main building, kind of across from the shed. So on our plans, we show an awning coming from the existing building to the shed, and we'd like to put the name of the company on that awning as well. That would be on the north side of the awning.
Okay. I noticed there's two different designs. That just, would be one of those designs, or the two different signs?
It's two different designs.
Okay, not two
Correct,
different
yes.
signs.
Is that awning
Not
something?
signs, but designs with a D, yeah, correct.
Okay, so,
Is the awning something they have to come back again for?
no.
I think we'll go in the permit process when we apply for the sign permit. We'll have decided on which design at that time.
I mean, I'm sensitive to your timing relative to holidays, and it's a seasonal business.
Oh, yeah.
As mentioned here, so, I mean, if you get things done.
Oh, you mean to come back again for the sign?
Yeah, I mean, no.
Or
it's-
for the square footage?
Yeah, if you're under timing constraints relative to seasonality, then you should move ahead on all these things quickly.
Yeah, so anything you could do for us, I don't know what you can do tonight, I don't know the restraints and your rules that you're set with, but anything you could do tonight on all these fronts would be very helpful, because of course, season is an issue with the chocolates. One of the biggest clients is Christmas.
Christmas,
Yeah.
Yes.
Valentine's Day.
Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner? Yes, Vice Chairman.
Yeah, I had a question just in your renderings. This is one of those properties that really could use some love. I like what you're proposing for the landscape, because I think that drives a lot of attention. When I look at your depiction as we have it, though, my concern is, from what you've presented and what's up there, you're basically eliminating the picture that's up there, the left-hand side. It's basically the windows, doors come out, is that correct? And that's gonna be one solid wall?
I'd have to look at the floor plan, it's been a while since I looked at it.
I can pull
But
that out, but.
it's fairly accurate, because the manufacturing requires certain
Yeah, you
Uh,
have windows up there.
They don't
wall
have them
space
on
and
this,
such.
So this is what I'm referring to. So this has so that's that front of the building right there, and you see the entranceway here that's depicted
Right.
up there, but the windows and doors
Right.
aren't on there. Is that
Yeah.
just something that wasn't put in there?
Well, no,
or-
the door has to go, because that's part of the manufacturing, the door on the left-hand side, and those windows don't work. But there will be some beautification to the building with some plant-ons, something like that.
Aesthetically, I think I don't know that that's a huge improvement, because you've just, that corner is so isolated you've got the storage area, that you're now creating this really large canvas, and without
Yeah.
putting something to break it
Okay.
up.
No, that's a good comment. Is there a floor plan there, too?
There is a
Yes.
floor plan in the front of
The
this.
floor
Yeah,
plan doesn't
would you
seem
mind
to-
opening that up so I could
doesn't
look
seem
at it?
to con-
The floor plan looks like it has windows in it.
Yeah, it doesn't agree with that elevation.
It does appear to show windows on the floor plan, unless those are existings, but
Yeah, so
Could I approach?
I think
Here we go.
Jim's got
Thank you.
that.
I think we have a bit of a faux pas here.
Okay,
The floor plan shows windows in that area.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you want to break that up. You're doing something that is
Yeah,
really neat, and
yeah.
that would.
Yeah, the floor plan is accurate.
The other question is, on that north side, there is a mural that was put in. Are you planning on keeping the mural?
We went back and forth. We want the building to look nice. We want it to be pleasing to the eye, and if we don't feel it's that, we would cover it. So right now, we plan on covering it, but it's a toss of a coin.
My opinion is it's a beautiful mural, and we've encouraged some nice murals around town. And I know this school that did that. I think it could be incorporated nicely into your business, so I would encourage that. No, you don't have to make a decision. That's just my opinion. So, and that's all the questions I have.
I have another question.
Yes.
I guess my only real concern is, when you manufacture it, do you have chocolate odor that emits from the business? meaning that certain businesses have certain smells that come out of them. I mean, we've all read the news about Tabasco and all this kind of stuff, and I've never met anybody who didn't like the smell of chocolate. However, I'm sure that somebody that exists out there. So my question is there, during the manufacturing process, does it, no outside odor?
It is inside, for sure.
Okay.
Do we want people in this town that don't like the smell of chocolate? Just anecdotally, sorry, you know, and when Alcatraz was still in use, the Ghirardelli factory across the bay blew that scent over, and it for some of the people over there, it drove them crazy because it was it wasn't a bad smell. They really
Couldn't get to it.
Yeah,
Right.
they couldn't get to it.
I don't have any questions, other than thank you very much.
I've got one more question.
Okay.
Sorry. On the paint that you submitted, what is the body of the building going to be? Is it the tan?
The light color, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, fine.
All right,
Thank you. I don't have any sheet from the public. All right, would you please sign up a sheet, please, over one of these little slips over there and give it to our staff? And go ahead and make your presentation, then you can fill it out and give it to, I just need your name right now. And please speak into the microphone.
My name is Alice Alibrio, and I'm one of the houses they showed
Yes.
right behind him. So my main concern is construction and noise and when it's going to happen and how long and what's going to happen to right around me. And it was extremely disturbing in May when they chopped down all the trees around there. I had no warning. It was 7 o'clock in the morning, and suddenly I'm hearing chainsaws. So that's my one biggest concern, what it's going to do for my life living there. And the second is, that's my house. And the second is keep the mural, please. I just want to put that in there because that's just something special.
Okay. I'm sure they'll take into consideration. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I don't know how this works or whether I'll get informed or what's going to happen next.
I'm the owners here and the developers, and we'll hope they would give you some advance notification with what they're going to do, and hopefully it won't take very long to do those exterior renovations. The interior probably will go pretty fast. You won't know what's going on, but on the exterior, it should be very fast, I would think. And
Okay.
yeah, we'll just hope they'll get with them back there, Mr. Portnoy.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure he'll cooperate and help any way he can.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll close the floor to the public, and we'll have your discussion and comments, please.
I think it's an exciting project, and I think it'll be a good addition to that corner. I mean, we're starting to stretch this out and get more of the business up there, and I like the development, so.
Right. Mr. Norwood?
No comments, except I wish you a lot of luck, and I hope it happens soon.
All right.
Yeah, I would say I think it's a good idea. I asked my wife last night. She goes, "Chocolate? Chocolate's great." I agree also that it is nice to see working down a little bit more. In my time on council, I really felt one of the more not neglected, but one of the areas that could really start using more work or take an example from the Old Town area was more of what I called the Midtown area, kind of getting past 10th Street and heading around that bend and going south. So I really like to see that these things happening will spur more happenings, and it'll probably be the best for everybody. So I like to see the idea of it.
Good. Vice Chairman.
Yeah, I think it's a great project, and there is so much potential there, and it sounds like you've got a great plan. where my mom lives, there is a chocolate business very similar to this that's opened up in the last few years, and they really showcase. They've got a bank of windows, the manufacturing process. They do chocolate tasting, very, very successful, and really great place that the community is gathered in. So I think that's something that the community will embrace, and I wish you a lot of success in it.
Okay. I would certainly second that. That will be some great improvements to that existing building there. Just changing the color will help a great deal, and the new roofs and so forth. I think it'll be a really nice addition to the community. If you'll please work with your neighbors, we appreciate that as well during construction. And we hope that we can, we're going to put it as a stipulation tonight in our approvals, but to work on that floor plan, and we'll try to, the staff, and sometimes you have your hands tied a little bit, but we need to, everybody, we have certain minimum requirements. They may be outdated, maybe we need to go back and look at them, but sometimes that's up to the city council, and where it's outside of our purview, some of these things like that, but that's good. Now, we're going to have two separate motions, and we'll put the first one with the stipulations, and then I think the second one can pretty much mirror that, the second one, with the exception of number 3, which will be taken care of in the second one.
I move that we approve PCU 18-005 Arizona Chocolates with the following stipulations: that the project is developed in conformation with the development plan submitted for the July 16, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. 2, the project conforms to the Code Review Board comments dated May 31st, 2018. 3, that the project conforms to the design and review requirements as approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. 4, that the applicant work with staff and resubmit the floor plan for approval to ensure that the manufacturing use does not exceed 50% of the retail floor area prior to issuing a certificate of occupancy. 5, a certificate of zoning compliance documenting the completion of conditions shall be issued prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. 6, that the trash enclosure identified on the site be located 5 feet within the property line and be 6 feet in height.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Mr. Dowling seconds the vice chairman's motion. All in favor? And we're going to start a little something new right now, because next month we're going to have to, by state statute, our city attorney last time, we'll do it by roll call. Commissioner Dowling?
I would approve it, aye.
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 Commissioner Dowling?
Dowling says aye.
Aye.
Chairman says aye. Unanimously approved. Congratulations. Good luck.
Continuing on, I move that we approve DR 18-008 Arizona Chocolates with the stipulations, and I don't know that I need to read those again, do I? Looking at you.
And number 3 would be the only exception, because we've already...
That the project conforms with the design review requirements approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission in the meeting dated July 16, 2018.
We can get rid of that one. Other than that. Is that okay, staff? Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Dowell seconds that motion as vice chairman. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, unanimously approved. All right, we got it done. All right, look forward to it. Okay, our next agenda item is DR 18009 Verde Valley Medical Center. Request to construct a single-story, 3,527 square foot corridor to connect 2 portions of the existing building.
Thank you, Chairman Williams, members of the commission. This is a request through the Verde Valley Medical Center for a corridor expansion project. They have an area that they would like to connect 2 portions of the existing site with a large corridor and a couple of storage rooms. think you know where the hospital is, but there's the project site as it exists. The subject site currently is zoned C1, light commercial. The corridor addition would be 3,527 square feet, and as I said, would include 2 storage rooms and a large hallway, in essence. The exterior addition, the exterior to the addition would be the same colors as are presently existing on the hospital site itself, and the same material as well. The MRI improvements, for the most part, are being all done within the enclosed portion of the building. There's one small little exterior change, and that would be a 7-foot 4-inch high wall to conceal new chillers that would need to be used for the MRI equipment. The areas that you're looking at, this little red area right here would be the corridor expansion. Connecting, there's doorways up here and doorways back here. The storage rooms would be in this area right in here. This is looking at the hospital facility from Willard. The new corridor expansion, you won't see very much from Willard. It's going to be tucked back in this area, back in here. You would, for the most part, have to drive on site to see where the change would be. This area of the building right here is where the MRI facility is, and that 7-foot 4-inch screen wall would be right in this location right here. And once again, it would be similar in color and materials to what is existing. This shows where that screen wall would be. This is what you would see on this from Willard Street, and this would be that 7-foot 4-inch wall. When you're looking at it in context to the overall building itself, I think the visual impact will be negligible. And this, once again, is where the that 7-foot 4-inch wall would be at the end of the building. So that is all I have to present. The architect, the applicant, is here this evening as well for any questions that I may not be able to answer.
Commissioner Dow?
No.
Question?
No, no questions.
Commissioner Norwood? Commissioner Norwood, any questions? Of the staff? Okay. I don't have any questions, Jim, of you. Fine.
Okay.
We'll have the representatives from the hospital.
This is Amy Zitney. She's the project architect.
Okay. So,
Hi, Chairman Williams and members of the commission. My name is Amy Zitney. I'm a project architect with Corgan. We are the institutional architect for Northern Arizona Healthcare. We have multiple projects in Flagstaff and then quite a few at the Verde Valley Medical Center. This is the first that will require design review board application and review. So as Jim pointed out, this is a 3,500 OR tunnel expansion. This is connecting 2 parts of the building. Unfortunately, there was no master plan to get from the north part of the building to a shelled portion of the south, unless you meander through the OR sterile corridor. So this OR tunnel will allow them to get inpatients through to the south part of the building. There's nothing there currently, but it's a phased project that will be a future project down to towards the south. And then the MRI, they have a single MRI. They're replacing their current magnet. It's the end of its life cycle, and the new magnet will require a larger chiller on site that we'll want to conceal with a screen wall. So we're just matching existing EFIS colors, including that accent stripe that's at the lower part of that wall there. If you wanna zoom in, there we go. So you can see they have a reveal joint. It goes around the building. You can kind of see a small chiller there currently. That's for their existing magnet. But the new chiller will be approximately 7 feet in height, and will be quite a bit larger and longer as well. So that's the reason for the screen wall addition.
Okay. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
No questions.
Okay, so I understand it can be the same materials, and then it was a flat roof on that corridor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it'll match like,
It'll match. Can I pass around an exhibit of
yes.
an additional picture?
I think, yeah, do you have some more? Which one is that now?
This is just a picture of.
Oh, we have that.
We have that.
Yeah, we have that in our package, yes.
Okay, yes. So there's a small bump out. We're gonna match the existing height of the corridor, so 15'3". It'll look pretty seamless, and then there'll be some new windows that will match existing locations of the windows that are just on the second floor on
Okay.
that corridor.
On that floor. Okay,
On the first floor, correct.
okay, very good. Any other questions? That's the only one I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have any slips from the public. Any other comments, questions? If not, I'll close to the floor to the public, and we'll get to our comments from the commissioners and. No comment? Comments? Okay. Commissioner Hart's not here tonight, but he expressed a little bit of a concern about the lack of plans and so forth with this presentation, but I think it's pretty clear it's going to blend right in. It's a minor part of the hospital. It's not like you're making a big major 3-story addition to it. And the visibility from Willard Streets is going to be almost, you wouldn't even notice it. At least I didn't. And Jim, thank you for the chiller location in the plan. I was a little confused on that. So with that, further comment, Vice Chairman, I'll entertain a
I
motion.
move that we approve DR 18-009 Verde Valley Medical Center Corridor Project and MRI expansion with the following stipulations. 1, the project is developed in conformance with the site plan submitted June 15, 2018. 2, the project conforms to Code Review Board comments dated June 8, 2018. 3, a certificate of zoning compliance documenting the completion of conditions shall be issued by the timeframe specified.
Do I have a second?
Second motion.
Commissioner Norwood seconds the motion from the Vice Chairman. All in favor? And again, we'll do a little roll call. Commissioner Allen, go ahead.
Aye.
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 Aye, unanimously approved. Good luck, thank you. All right. All right, going on. We have, that concludes our agenda items. So we have a couple of discussion items with staff. First of all, the MH zone text amendment recording addition of a property line, whatever closer, and from the back of the sidewalk, who's going to handle? We're trying to clarify what Commissioner Hart's concern was the way it was written before, that go to a sidewalk. Where's the sidewalk if there's no sidewalk here?
Well, looking into it, Mr. Chairman, the manufactured home subdivision part of the ordinance, that's where this is coming from.
Yes.
We only have one subdivision in town that has sidewalks. Any future manufactured home subdivision or any other subdivision is required to have sidewalks. So we don't know when this was put in. Well, it was put in when this was written, but we don't know when that was or why it was sidewalk versus property line. But it seems that the sidewalk is the most logical place to reference from. For example, if a lot of times the property line is going to be at the back of the sidewalk. You're not likely to have a situation where the property line is further from the sidewalk and you have a gap in between. If that situation does exist and you measure from that property line, then the person's got to put their garage even further back. If the property line extended past the sidewalk, then you have a public sidewalk within somebody's property line, and that's almost never going to happen. So let's pretend that it did happen. Now you measure from that property line and not back of sidewalk. Now the garage is even closer to the street. So our understanding why it's in there as sidewalk is that's the most relevant, logical place to measure from, because it's likely where the property line is always going to be.
So are you proposing that we do make an addition, say, or property line, whichever is closer?
Well,
just to cover all bases?
Staff has contacted other cities around here, Clarkdale, Verde, looked at some online ordinances, and there's nobody else that addresses that issue one way or another with property line or sidewalk. It's not a concern of theirs. They just have a regular front setback. I know, I believe it was Clarkdale would do the same thing. There says front setback, and if that setback line was on the sidewalk, that's where they're going to measure from, is the back of sidewalk. So we're really, I don't want to say the only ones, but from our research, the only ones around here that go into more detail about it, but it's not talking to their staff. They're seeing where we come from and are on the same page saying that makes sense. You know, it's an option we could look at, but it is probably not necessary.
Okay, because the code for the new subdivisions, which we really be looking at, are going to require sidewalks, so.
Correct.
And so we're talking about the setback from that sidewalk, whatever. So that would, our existing zoning ordinance would cover that? So we don't need to make any changes? We left it that way, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be working, and there's no indication that it wouldn't work in the future on a new subdivision.
We're not going back and looking at existing subdivisions. It's not going to, you know, right. I think that's where the concern came, was if we're going back and.
Right, and like I said, we have one current subdivision. We have several parks, but they're two completely different, different things. So. Right. The way it's written now works just fine within.
Okay. You don't have any enforcement issues with existing. Any other questions, concerns?
No, I would say that I think I may have had a hand in designing the one park that has sidewalk in it. Generally, you will have the developer use up every square inch that they can in order to get their open space and all those things. The fact that you will find a gap between the sidewalk and the property line is probably a pretty slim idea. So I would agree with the way you explained it.
Yeah. Commissioner Norman?
No comment.
Okay, good. I think just, you know, I think we've covered that. I think that was just sort of the concern.
Right.
But long as it's made enforcement, you guys have a problem with it, we need to address it. And, okay, next item, number 2 for discussion only is allowance for outdoor entertainment and permitted use for improvement arts and district boundaries without having to come to us as currently for conditional use permits. This was discussed at the council the other night.
Yeah, I think we kind of mentioned it at Thursday's meeting that council would like to look at moving forward with allowing that outdoor entertainment as a permitted use within the boundaries of the arts and entertainment district that they approved back in November.
Right. And I think they were discussing without regard, because one of the stipulated, it was C1 properties, and there's some commercial residential combined, some of those CRs in that district as well. So it would be irregardless of what the zoning is, if it's in that, on Main Street fronting that.
Correct.
Main Street in that entertainment district, which stretches from around the bend, clear up where the end of the commercial development on the north side, clear to Main Street and 89A where Walgreens is, right?
Yes.
As I understand it?
Yes. And it's, you know, depending on where you are, it extends a block, maybe 2 blocks off of Main Street,
Down
that
here
distance.
particularly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would look at still putting some stipulations in there as we had before, with the time the music can be started, what time it has to end. Obviously, they still have to abide by the sound ordinance, so Commissioner Dowell doesn't have to go talk to them. So that's, we keep some of those stipulations in there, but it would be a permitted use within all that, all those zones in the district.
Yeah. I think our main concern when we went back and visited it originally was we wanted to sort of take baby steps rather than, because they were talking all C1 within the city of Cottonwood. And I think I personally had real reservations about that. And now this sort of, they were in the process of establishing the entertainment district at that point. And that has now been established, right?
Yeah, they approved it November of last year.
November of last year.
Yeah, it was after.
Yeah, it's good, yeah. Commissioner, any questions? Okay, I think we can, move ahead with that and get that to us, and we'll get it on to council and go from there. The last item is discussion regarding the requirements for design review. Scott, is that you?
Yeah.
Whoever.
You should have in your packets the design review printout.
Yes.
That discusses the purpose, applicability, exceptions, all the fun stuff associated with design review. It sounds like some of the commission has questions on certain things being brought versus not, so, whatever those may be, feel free to ask.
Well, I'm going to chime in on this because you're looking at me, but I have issue because traditionally we see what, especially design and review, we see what we need that, in my opinion, as you go out to a project or the site to use to visualize that. I'll use a past example of the development that was going into Food City Coffee Shop, and twice they appeared before us. We asked for samples, and I got really frustrated because the second time that we met with them, they had we're going to paint it according to what's back here. Well, what about, we had asked at that first meeting, that's that wall that wrapped around, let's have something river rock that conforms, it's on Main Street, sure. They come back, they want to do concrete block, not even decorative concrete block. Tonight, there's a lot of trust. Almost everybody that comes in here says, no, we're going to do this right. We're going to make this right. But no paint samples up front. I understand sometimes with the drawings there are issues, but I think that's part of our process, and I think it's an important part of our process that we need to see that. And that's, as we look down Main Street, there's been too many incidences, in my opinion, over the years where we've taken people at their word to say they're going to do something and they don't end up doing it. And we end up with something that we get called on. Why didn't this happen? Why aren't you consistent with that? And I'm of the opinion, especially it is documented in here several times, that we should have those. Before I was on planning and zoning, I was on the now defunct design review board. That was a requirement, and I think we need to have that. And if they don't have that, my opinion, they shouldn't be here. That's a requirement.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question. Section C on exceptions. You read along, you get to number 5. And all of this, are these exceptions? And I'm a little bit concerned about 5B. Is this saying that anybody, that it doesn't have to come before the Zoning and Planning Commission if someone wants to build a 1,000 square foot addition to a building? Yes. That we don't get to see that? Is that? Is that what this says?
Existing building.
If it meets these qualifications for an exception, then no, it does not have to go in front of the board.
This is where I'm confused. What qualifications?
Under number 5, the ones that you were just reading.
The building or structure is either an addition or an accessory use. Well, we just approved one for the hospital.
Right, and they came,
It was
over
over
1,000
1,000
with
square feet.
3,500 square feet, yes.
Yes.
Had it not been over,
999.
They wouldn't have had, the staff could have done that if they meet all these stipulations. Now, there's
right.
5 stipulations. The concern, the one I had, and we had a recent project, was number C. Does not substantially alter the appearance of a site as seen from off the site. And the question we came up with was, we were actually questioning, why didn't the motel next to McDonald's was putting up this 2-story office structure. You guys approved that. Did it not, number C, I guess I have a little bit of, that might be a personal opinion, but there was quite an alteration to that building, and it's right up there in front where you see that whole motel.
Right.
That we required Oxendale to come before us for design review.
Because they were over 1,000
Oh,
square.
it's great. Now, that isn't over 1,000?
No, their renovation that they're doing is under 1,000 square feet. They met all of the provisions under number 5.
Okay.
Presented to staff what they were doing, and we made that call in our professional judgment that it met
Right.
these requirements, did not need to come to the.
Yeah. So that second story is sort of a fupa thing?
Right, right.
Yeah, they still got, they left the roof underneath there, so.
And they were told these requirements. They knew that if it was gonna be over 1,000 square feet, they would have to come in for design review. And they made it, I think it's 800 and something square feet, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So as staff, we use our professional judgment, that's what we get paid to do,
Right.
and therefore determined that it met these requirements and didn't need to come to the design review.
Yeah. Well, just some of the questions that came up a while ago.
I would say, though, that C, it does dramatically alter, that's why they're doing it, does, that new facade, putting aside what it did or didn't do to square footage, that is something that it is significant.
Well, then we need to define substantially, and that could be an endless definition that we should probably have Steve Horton here for again.
So it's hard to say that B and C are not connected, right? I mean,
Well, it could be, it just,
Well, what Scott's saying is it's 800 square feet, so that's not, but and it is subjective. We were just talking about what's subjective. The noise is subjective, someone's like, that's not loud enough, and someone else is too loud, but in my opinion, that whole facade is different. They're actually, that whole front of the building, internally, the staircases, I don't think that's anything that technically we should be concerned with, but on that street front, and I'd use the example of what we just saw with the chocolate business that's going in, especially on that main corridor, I think we should see, because I want to ensure that what's going in is really good. So I would say that that's something that we would want to see, and it is subjective. You might say, well, it's not that significant, and the space added with what they're doing space-wise might not be, but I think because of where it's located and the extent of what they did, I think it is significant.
yeah. I don't think we want to see every little nitty thing. That's not the point we're making. We, at some point we had stuff there. Just that particular project where it's located, and it's right there in front, and I'm not objecting to it. I think they made some great additions. That motel really needs some TLC to it, and that does improve the looks of it, in my personal opinion. So, but I guess trying to be fair to everybody, that comes before us or required to come before us, I just don't want us to, feel like somebody doesn't have to do it. But, so it's a judgment call, I realize that. But we don't need to see every little addition in town. Yes,
Bob,
Commissioner.
I mean, I think 999 square feet addition to any building is going to substantially alter the looks of that building.
Well,
That's big.
But
I
if
mean,
you look
there's
at-
houses that are only a little bit bigger than that in town.
But if you look in comparison, like what we just did with the hospital, even though that is significant, compared to the building that it's going on, it's
Yeah.
really not, and the way that they did that, so.
Yeah, but there's no restrictions on the size of the building for the 999 square feet. There's no stipulation that you could substantially alter the looks of a building if you add 999
yeah,
square
well,
feet.
that's right. And that's their professional judgment is this 999 feet or this 1,000?
But in
is
Part
that-
C, we're worried about
yeah.
the addition or accessory use does not substantially alter the appearance of the site.
Yeah,
as
I
seen
mean,
from
that
off
could
the site.
offset that. If it does, then what I'm saying is
Okay.
probably we ought to take a look at that. I'm not disagreeing with you, but in a lot of cases, that's not the case. That Overmall Motel is probably 20,000 square feet. I don't know. With all those rooms back there, it's a pretty substantial building itself. And it's just where this location was, whatever. That's, again, as Vice Chairman says, that's sort of it's a subjective call, but I think just, if we're on this main streets, whatever, if there's any question, probably the best is, we don't want to delay all these guys forever, but just to bring it before us and we do it. But, yeah, that's my input to it, so.
I'm gonna say something just based on what you said. We don't wanna lay on these guys forever, which I agree with, but at the same time, they need to do it right. And there's been plenty of times where we've had businesses come here, and as caustic as beloved Ed Kyler was, I believe in being consistent. And if somebody comes before us, they need to have this, they need a check sheet that says, and you guys need to receive something that says, here's our colors, here's our textures. And that needs to be consistent across the board, everybody that comes here. Otherwise, we're treating somebody differently than somebody else. And this is our community, especially on these corridors. We're trying to make improvements. And if you look over the years, there's some great improvements, and it's everybody involved in it. But a lot of it is because we're the first really catch-all for that, and I think we have to be consistent. So I'm sure they get something like this when they come in, but I don't know if reiterating or saying, hey, if you don't submit this packet and you give us these colors or textures, you can't come before us. To me, we're getting somebody, I'll go back to Dutch Brothers again. They had 2 times to get it right, and they came in here and it was, oh, we're gonna match colors in the back, without saying what it is. The back of what? It was Food City was what they were referring to. I think we need to enforce that and set the precedent again, and you need to be prepared with this. And why we don't wanna make them wait on that, they should know up front, you will wait if you don't do it right. And so I don't know, is there something that they get or something that you have that says, hey, if you don't have this, then.
Yeah, they get within the application is an application checklist on everything that's required to be submitted.
So, and maybe that's where we have to take a hard line. I know there's this opinion of, hey, these guys are coming into town to do this, but we've seen plenty of businesses that have come and we've really held them to the fire, and they've come back and they've done it right. So I think that we need to stand strong on that.
It's a consistency thing, and again, you're professionals. We lean on you guys for your professional judgments and your knowledge and of these ordinances and whatever. I don't want to step on that either, but because we can overdo it. But yeah, if there's any question, I think the best, revenue, try to come forth and do the best. We need to, because you're sort of our first line of defense too, is to make sure that they have the appropriate information when they come before us, so that we don't have to table it and go on or not approve it. And some things we can, I think, lay off and say, well, okay, those items, we'd like to see that, but you could work with the staff on that to get some of those items taken care of so we don't delay it. But I concur with Vice Chairman on that very much so.
I guess my only comment would be, especially in C, because it is so subjective. I mean,
Yes.
substantially alter, you and I could argue that.
Oh, yes.
Till we're blue in the face. And I guess if I was sitting in your shoes, if I thought, maybe not, maybe that doesn't substantially, I still might just throw it towards the board, only because then nobody can come and say, you. Now they have to say, you. So we kind of take that off of you, because if you approve it, and then somebody comes back and points a finger at you and says, hey, this is substantially altering, now, instead of it being on you, it's on us, because we either approved it or didn't approve it. So I think, from your standpoint, we're the guys who, and gals, that should be taking that heat for you. That's what we're here for, because that's why there's so many of us up here making a decision, rather than it all being on your shoulders. It shouldn't sit all on your shoulders. You shouldn't take the heat for something that we should be able to take the heat for.
But actually, it is not that simple. If we had any doubt about it, we would bring it to you. We sat down, we worked with those people, and it was decided that, and all of us decided that that was not substantial. And also, remember, something on the paper versus what's happening is different. But again, it is very subjective. So we got the point. We have two items here, discussion items. So we got the one, material boards are necessary. We will take and bring it for every project. We should treat everybody the same. But second one is, I'm still not clear with 5C. What are you directing, or what are you recommending to staff? Should we take this
Well,
999 or less than anything 1,000? Because we don't want to be in this situation
Well,
again. Staff makes a decision and it is
let's just say it's a
substantial, not-
2,000 square foot building, they're gonna put a 1,999 square foot addition on, maybe that's a substantial change.
Right. Not to
Yes,
interrupt.
no, that's good.
What I would say is, I think that it would be nice if there was a way to, I know we're saying it's subjective. It'd be nice if there was a way to somewhat remove some of the subjectivity. If we look at a couple of examples, the example we had tonight of the hospital. If you look at the hospital as a whole, the addition they're asking for is the smallest percentage. And so to go through the entire the entire materials and project board process for that again,
Right.
the overall percentage of addition to the whole is minimal. Even like you said on the hotel or the motel, the percentage of the whole was smaller. If there was a way that we could at least quantify that, say, if there's an X percentage, if the addition is 150% of the original building size, to your concern, Mr. Norwood, then that would be like a red flag. It says, hey, there's a problem here. If it's 5% or 2% of the whole building size, that seems like it would remove some of that subjectivity and allow that. Like, I don't know, I wasn't here for the Oxendale. I'm not sure what their changes were, if they were over a certain square footage.
They were, yeah.
So that so there's the 1,000 square foot cutoff that automatically flags the larger things. But when you get to the smaller ones, the dangerous thing I see with that is that then you're kind of putting that subjectivity into it of, and then they're supposed to bring all the things that are questionable, maybe, then that puts a lot of responsibility on their shoulders that like you said, that you don't want to necessarily have them make those calls when we're here
Well,
for that.
yeah.
So I think that if we can come up with a way to put a number on it, or at least, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a real formal thing. If you look at it and it's, if we say 5%, 2%, whatever, if we could agree on at least a percentage of the whole number, that would remove some subjectivity. But even then, if you had a 1% addition to the hospital that was painted hot pink with tiger stripes or something, then that's obviously an issue. But I think if we could come up with that, I mean, I think in a lot of what happened there, I'm getting sort of after the fact, is that I think I would assume that a lot of people came to you in the community and said, hey, what happened with that hotel or the motel? And it was, if there was something in place where there could be a notification that said, we made the call on this one, but then it's tricky because then the commission would be, well, why did you do that? And then that really opens up staff to feel like they can't make a decision without being second guessed. I know that we went through that quite a lot on the city council, where people were very hesitant to make the call on something because they felt like if they did, they would be penalized for it, or it would be a negative consequence. So that really ends up putting you into the analysis by paralysis by analysis.
Well, I'm not going to speak for the vice chairman, but I think we've been on this for 9 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I think one of the conditions, or one of the things, guidelines that I would think is, if these are projects on our main corridor streets coming through town, or Main, Old Town, 89A going out around, that's our biggest concern. If you're off back in, you know, on 6th Street or 12th Street or wherever, that's one of the things we've tried to protect for a long time, and one of the goals to improve it. We've talked to a lot of these applicants about landscaping and trying to, you know, improve that because we're really proud of these corridors, and it's going to become more important as we become more of a tourist community, and we're starting to draw tourists in now because of Old Town and whatever, and so that's sort of where I'm coming from. Is the guideline
is there any overlap between? Is there any issue perhaps or overlap with the fact that that corridor is sort of a toss-up between? It's an ADOT right-of-way versus the city right-of-way, but it's still within the city?
No, we're talking about two quarters, really. Yeah. I mean, starting with 89 or 260 and 89A, and the first quarter is coming along Main Street through Old Town.
Right.
And then the other quarter is 89A going up, you know, around on the bypass, the old bypass highway.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about subjectivity as kind of in a bad light right here, but it's actually a good thing too, because it's not that we don't trust what you have decided. I think it just falls back on if it's that significant on Main Street. For me, it's being consistent with everybody else that's come through here, because it is hard to quantify something and put a number on, because as Jesse said, it's exactly right. In my opinion, what was done to the hospital, and they do things right anyway, did we really need to see that? Well, according to this, we did. On the hotel, on the other hand, because of its presence and what it faces and stuff, that to me has more of an impact. But I don't, and if it's sounding like we're like, what did you guys do? I don't feel that way at all, because I think you guys have great judgment. It's just that's the type of thing where I see more of an impact because of where it's at and the significance of it. But I think the subjectivity is a good thing. It's a good tool for all of us, because hey, we're just doing this little add-on to the hospital, but it is pink and we're putting tiger stripes on it, but it's only 200 square feet. Well, that becomes an issue, so the subjectivity part. But I appreciate the part that you mentioned about the consistency with the materials, the samples and stuff, because I think that helps us out a lot.
Yeah. Like I say, that's sort of I think those areas are a little sensitive, you know, so if there's any question, we're going to encourage it. Go ahead and let us be the guys that you know, take care of that.
In law enforcement, we call it the headline test. And we go, is this going to, the headline, who's going to look at the headline on this one? Yeah, so if the headline is potentially there because it's standing in front of you on 260, I I would defer to that too.
Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, but again, I'm gonna say, if you knew that it's gonna be headline, you wouldn't do it, but to you, it is so easy, it's straightforward, you know,
Yeah,
so.
we just,
I
you know,
think,
we don't, you know, again, I think Commissioner Dowell's comment was very constructive and, you know, we'll take the heat if there's, you know, if we approve something, people in town don't like it, well, they can, well, that's our problem. We take the burden off you guys, and particularly on those high visibility areas.
We'll take the heat and defer it to the council.
Yeah, they're right. We'll let them.
There's no reason for us to
Yeah,
stop
that's right.
that decision.
And without a doubt, when they did the motel renovation, I'm sure that they didn't help by making it, the project that they did with all the exterior stuff. When
Right.
you just walk by, you're like, oh, wow, what are they doing over there?
Yeah.
They probably overdid some of the
Yeah.
plastic and that kind of stuff, which made it more, stand out
Yeah, it
more.
looked a lot more
Yeah.
significant.
Paper,
Yeah, no. And I think, you know, overall, it's been good, and we've been very consistent, and we just want to give you guys, I think, some guidance or some of our feelings so that you know, and it's, as Vice Chairman says, it's not a criticism, we're hoping it's guidance, and we don't want, that's what we're here for. And these commissioners, we're not beholden to anybody. We're not going to get, you know, the council doesn't like us, I guess they could fire us, and, you know, we're not getting paid very much for this anyway, so. We're, you know, you guys have some pressure, and the city council has to be elected, so they have different motives, but I think it's good we have this design review thing and whatever we can, and it's a good thing for us to do, and it is very subjective sometimes, I would agree, and yeah, but we have 7 of us, and we're at a full commission again, and that's great to see, and we'll all go forward, and any other items, any reports, other than what we had there tonight? And so no more special meeting, we'll be able to go forward to the middle of August, hopefully.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on. All right. If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and go home.
A motion that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Alley. Right. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.